Hi, Michael home again. This is video number 8. This has basically got 4 very short poems in it. In video number 7, because it was numbered so, I talked about the number 7 being completion, and I might have mentioned about I'm incorporating structural elements based on the number 7 into my poems. If I didn't, I certainly mentioned that idea. 7 days in the week, 7 ancient wonders of the world, and lots and lots of other things. So poetry wise, I started very much focusing on like structured poems around about 2015 onwards. I wrote one special poem called Joe's Secondhand Testament, which is not going to feature in these videos, but you know, one way or another, you could come across it. So all the poems I'm about to read, they're all in 4 stanzas, 7 syllables per line, simple rhyming scheme, and they're more like factual rather than descriptive, and using sort of like metaphor and those sorts of poetic devices. Ultimately, they helped me form what became my body of work, which is my non-fictions. So I'll go through each of these 4 now, and with little mentions on the way. So the first one of these structured poems that I want to read to you. And I also wrote things like sonnets as well, which are very structured, but not going to read those. So the first one is called Real Life or Fantasy. It goes like this: Real life or fantasy. Life begins in its good time. It might creep there unnoticed. It can become manifest if the past is diluted. What a blessing to live life without needing to begin. That makes blissful ignorance. Be humble to avoid sin. The past can be foundation, or it can be a horror. By learning from your errors, you make a good tomorrow. For some, it might start plural. Without pain, it may fleet by. You may waste yours for normal. They say, feel the fear and try. Of course, that last one was a reference to Susan Jeffers' book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, which a book I've not read, unfortunately. I should have done. I just went off the title. So the next one is this next one is called, interestingly, it's called I Am. Now, eventually, my first non-fiction book was called I Am. I had no idea at this point in time, which was like November 2015, when I wrote this poem, that I would eventually write a non-fiction book called I Am. I'll just read this now. So, I am. For some, that is everything. Others strive to qualify. Vagueness might negate attack. Hence, do not identify. Everything is tenuous. Even love is not perfect. It comes and goes with reward. Grave payment may be respect. Truly, we arrive and leave with absolute nothingness. Surely purpose is to make purposeless feel less pointless. Perhaps honesty is brave, honourable naivety. Sod it, release everything, choose capitalist pathways. So yeah, the main liner in that, of course, is the hence do not identify, which is basically what my entire I Am book is about. It's not a massive book. It's like 42 pages. It can be read in an hour even, physically. So the next one, yeah, the next one was interesting because I was well, no, they're all interesting, but the next one I wrote because I was part running um a poetry group for people with drug and alcohol issues, people um kind of recovering from drug and alcohol problems. And then one week we we set it as a group. There was a couple of people running it really, but we set this idea of writing something that if you were able to send back to your younger self, 17, 18-year-old self, whatever, um, what would you say to them? And of course, the concept being like they should maybe change the course of time. And because I was writing these structural poems all the time and I didn't do any other type of writing, mine was one of these poems, and mine was called A Letter to Young Michael. So it goes like this: A letter to young Michael. You're in the system. It's hard. On balance, 2.5 kids, mortgage and bright holidays. Less pain, but close eyelids. When mum left so early on, her action caused a ruckus, implying you were worthless. But you're not, but you're equal, not surplus. Don't act the goat and fall in with the easiest of friends. Laziness can be a route to denial and pretend. It's good to freely say no. Opinions are respected. By slowly braving feelings, one day you'll know life started. There's all sorts in these, in such small forms, and um, I have expanded on a lot of this stuff later on in non-fiction. For example, with the line, "It's good to freely say no," but of course, saying no it can be really hard, and it's something that can take people a long time to learn, and some people never learn at all, and that's like a rough time you've got then. I wrote an essay about saying no, like the logic of it, and there's a copy of that essay in my Selected Musings book. So yeah, what I said earlier, much of what's in these little sort of syllabic poems and structured poems are what eventually became clear, no nonsense non-fiction. So there's one more I'm going to read you, um, and this had the curious title, Life 101, the poem. And indeed, I think I did an essay. Life 101, as well. However, in this case, the essay came before the poem. That was an early essay of mine. I remember that. So, Life 101, the poem. Can pure love be possible? Satisfaction is reward. Pantheism is plausible. All is God and we are Lord. How can that be when we take isolation as a truth? Groups a total delusion to an existential sleuth. What is the function of life when children are not gifted? Is it to buy bigger cars, rewards for painful business? For some, there is no purpose. That alone is firm belief. Thinking can make us worthless. Mindlessness is stress relief. And I know there's these days, for some years now, they've talked about this mindlessness thing, and I don't know. It's like I think it's a sort of like offshoot of meditation, really. I would say, and um, there's a lot in that though, in like just not thinking. But there's not thinking and there's not thinking, there's not thinking, and you're just an idiot, aren't you? You know, you're just a mindless person. But if you can not worry, not think, not worry, but use your brain when you need to, switch it on, that for me is like the goal, you know. And I think that's like a lifelong pursuit of like getting full control and that. So that's like video. That's video 8, and yeah, ultimately, it was non-fiction with me. So we'll see where we go in the next video, and probably wrap it up in number 10.